Wow, it's good to see you guys.
Hey guys.
Good to see you too.
We've literally experienced a 70-degree temperature differential over the past week, which is pretty crazy.
Cause a blackout at Trevor's place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically like Oklahoma weather, but it was experienced by a lot more people.
Yeah. Welcome to our world, Texas.
Yeah.
No,
Texas.
I feel bad for them. You know, last time we didn't talk about the fact that Kevin Stitt was in New Mexico at the beginning of the Oklahoma storms. So he pulled like a mini Ted Cruz, which I think what's funny about that is we talked about Ted Cruz and he got a lot of heat and he looked like a doofus, but it plays into the whole Oklahoma is just like a worse version of Texas stereotype because like Kevin Stitt went on vacation to New Mexico, not even Mexico, but he's in New Mexico. And it was at the beginning. So it was like before Ted Cruz. So it was like, just, you know, as an Oklahoman, that stuff kind of, it irks me. Makes me feel kind of sad.
I don't know if we talked about this, but he just told the truth. Like, you know, he doesn't have water in Houston. He doesn't have electricity. So he went to Cancun. People buy that shit. Like, I understand. Instead, he was like, no, I didn't do it. It was for the kids or whatever.
Yeah. He said his kids wanted it, which, to be fair, is a pretty good PR play because it's like, how can you say no to your kids? He can't say, yeah, I wanted a break, so I'm going to dip. He's got to say, my kid was crying on the floor and he was, I'm cold, Daddy. Daddy, I'm so cold.
He could have sent the kids and stayed and, you know, did his job. But, you know, whatever.
You should work in politics, Wayne. Have you ever thought about that? You're a vet. That gets you a lot of points. You have business acumen.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I would do well.
Why? You're not ruthless enough?
That is a big part of it. And yeah, I don't think I'd be able to raise. Well, maybe, you know, there's people that raise money, you know, from other people. I'd probably have to do that. I don't think I'd be good at getting large corporations to give me money. Just based on things I would say, that wouldn't happen.
You can find
I never really thought about it. What?
Yeah.
You can find your small town Oklahoma and go run there. Purcell. Wayne for Purcell.
Purcell.
That's bigger. That's bigger.
Yeah.
A super small town.
Wayne for Purcell. I like that idea.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm moving to Purcell. Let's do it.
That's true. You do need to live there for...
Right.
Comptroller right now on this podcast. It's happening. Let's go.
What? GoFundMe /Wayne for Purcell Comptroller. What's a comptroller?
I'm not sure.
Always wondered.
Are they like a money manager?
Probably. I just know that they like comptrol.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't
took
either.
Took off 3 letters and I still don't know what it means.
Luckily, there is Google, so I could probably just Google it. And
coming to you straight from Heat That Moves, Google's definition of comptroller. A comptroller is a management level position responsible for supervising the quality of accounting and financial reporting of an organization.
Okay, so they're like a CFO, but they don't want to pay him that much.
Yeah, I heard that comptrollers actually don't make very much at all. Like,
why'd you pick that?
It just was the first thing that popped into my head.
Hold on, you're ripe to embezzle money. Wow, this is terrible if we're kicking off your campaign here. But if you're a comptroller, I feel like if you wanted to embezzle money, the ideal position is a comptroller based on Josh's Google description. Yeah. Well, I mean, with the big news that Wayne is running for Purcell Comptroller, Wayne for Purcell Comptroller, we would like to welcome you to Heat That Moves, the podcast where we talk about life and business and whatever else we want to talk about that doesn't fit into those categories. I'm Trevor. Joining me is Wayne. and Josh. And Josh is not in politics yet, but I think inevitably all three of us will probably be.
Yep, we're all gonna run for something.
Yeah. You either run for something or you run from something.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
That is.
You know what? That's my slogan. I'm taking it.
What will you say when you're inevitably asked, what does that mean, Wayne? It sounds good, but what does it mean?
I'm gonna memorize the Google definition.
Yeah.
I can memorize that. It'll only take me a day to memorize that.
It's some speech. You just have to repeat it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
That's right.
Less than a day, I'll be an expert on what Google says a comptroller is. Guaranteed.
That's good. That's good. What kind of platform would you have for Purcell, Oklahoma, Wayne? What would be your first action items?
My first action items would be, my first thing I would do is I would learn about Purcell, Oklahoma, and figure out what problems they have, financially speaking, and then I would come up with plans to fix them.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's like you call that the 3-step process.
Yes. So
yeah,
you just have to identify the problem, make a plan, execute the plan.
Yeah.
And then
that's 3 steps. That's so easy. And it's a circle. It's not even linear. That's a circle.
It's a circle because it's iterative. You're always trying to improve.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
do you think, I don't know anyone from Purcell, but I almost worry that using the word iterative is going to make you sound like a city boy. So maybe we need to hire a PR person. I don't know. What do you think, Wayne?
Probably. What's a country word for iterative?
The crop cycle. So it's like the crop cycle. I don't know enough about farming even.
Circle of life.
Yeah, everybody's seen the
circle of progress. No, you don't. I don't want to say progress. I don't know.
No, that's an Obama word. That's danger zone. Obama word. Don't say progress.
Okay.
You're close to progressive.
Improvement. Circle of improvement. That's what I'll run on. My circle of improvement.
And what I like about this circle is that it has 3 discrete points. So it's almost like a triangle inscribed in a circle. So the circle is repeating it because it's the circle of improvement, but you have identify, plan, execute.
Yep.
Boom. It's starting to kind of look like that's good. And you can throw that up at the end of your stump speech.
I feel like people would think I was a devil worshiper or something if I did that.
That's true.
What's the Legend of Zelda, the Tri thing?
The Triforce.
Triforce.
It's Triforce?
Yeah. But so. I think it is the Triforce for a fact. I think that, I don't know, I would, again, I don't want to stereotype against people in my home state, but I don't think that they've played Legend of Zelda. So I bet even if you wanted to call it Wayne's Triforce of Progress, you could probably get away with that too.
I'm going to say I know a lot of people that live in Oklahoma, grew up in Oklahoma, that played a lot of Zelda.
Okay. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'll edit that out.
That might even help. Because think about it like this.
Oh.
So the people that know the reference are going to be like, that guy's cool. And then the people that don't understand the reference are going to say, that sounds cool.
Yeah. That's what he's talking about.
So.
Yeah. Because, chances are, if you don't know about Legend of Zelda, you're probably still going to be attracted to the word force.
Yeah.
Force, that's what you want in a comptroller. When I think of a comptroller, and I think of all the best comptrollers that I've known personally, forcefulness is it's critical.
Yeah.
Because budgets don't balance themselves. They require some force.
Yeah. Dude, you guys got me excited about this.
That's good, dude.
I'm going to look up the rules probably tomorrow.
Next episode on Heat That Moves, we're making posters.
We'll do a poster tutorial. Wayne knows about design stuff. So Wayne, you can teach us how to make a poster for political campaigns.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, speaking of Wayne and things that he knows about, Wayne knows about memes. He knows about how they affect the stock market. He knows about what the best meme of the week is too. Was that a good intro, Wayne?
Yes, it is.
Meme of the
So
week.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw this bad boy up. It just felt like
It's
the
good.
right one for the moment.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
guys see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks
So
good.
basically, of course, when they ask what the weather's like, um, okay. Basically, it's what the weather's been like in Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma and Texas, and around the. I don't even know where all it's been bad, but most of the country.
Yeah.
One day it's freezing, the next day it's not, and it was like 70, 73 today in
Beautiful.
Oklahoma. It was nice. I ran around Lake Hefner today,
Good for you.
but
Wow.
not all the way around. That's crazy. But I ran a good 2.5 miles.
That's
proud
pretty
of
good.
And it was like 30 in the morning. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was pretty cold. It
yeah.
was
I
pretty
waited
cold.
for a bit, but it was good to get back out there.
Agreed. You know, when people say that Oklahoma doesn't have diversity, I don't think they pay attention to the weather.
That's true. We have some of the most diverse weather in the world.
Yeah.
In fact, did you guys? How many days ago was it? Probably about 4 days ago. I felt an earthquake. Did anyone else feel that? It
Ooh.
was like 3 or 4 days ago. There was an earthquake, and it woke me up.
Cracking.
Just throwing that out there. There was definitely an earthquake a few days ago.
Did you immediately identify it as an earthquake?
Yes.
Or were you kind of like, what was that?
Yeah, I've known about earthquakes longer than most Okies.
Mm.
'Cause I lived
Oh
in
yeah, you spent some time in
California
California. Ooh.
and visited California when I was a kid. Like the first earthquake I ever was a part of. I want to say I was 13, maybe.
Hmm.
So I know an earthquake when I feel one.
That's cool. You're a teen. Josh, you know a lot about earthquakes because you helped cause them by your work with the oil and gas industry. Is that right?
Right. Like that was a joke
Yeah.
when it was wrecking, but it probably was.
Let me ask you guys this: what is an earthquake?
An earthquake is when two pieces of rock shear against each other and cause movement.
Ooh.
Um,
Oh.
I was at a not conference, a talk not the other day, a while back, but it was like a year ago or so. Yeah, they were saying it was a group that was an oil and gas company traditionally, but they tracked earthquakes, and it was a whole big discussion on like what causes the earthquake. Is it natural, or are we causing by fracking? And basically, with fracking, they pump water into rock. So when you pump water into rock, increases pressure, and the cracks slip essentially. And
Okay.
the company was basically like, yeah, we're causing earthquakes. Which is kind of surprising because most companies monitoring that stuff would say like, oh no, it's natural, whatever. Yeah. So I was like,
Wow.
even I didn't know. But I was kind of surprised to see coming straight from them, the people who measure it. Like, yeah, we find clusters where yeah, a lot of the drilling is.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess the obvious questions are they earthquakes that are damaging in some way? Like, is there an uncaptured externality? Like, is it damaging people's houses in a way that, the price of shale gas or whatever is not capturing?
Yeah,
Are they bad enough to actually damage anything?
It
that's
is.
fair.
Yeah.
There are two arguments. One is basically so like I don't know if in high school you study earthquakes and like how you have the Richter scale, which is not 10 anymore. I forget what it is, but I think it's like when you go from magnitude 4 to magnitude 5, it's not like a linear increase. It's like
Oh, exponential.
yeah.
Okay.
And they were wondering like these artificial earthquakes, do they follow this scale? Because if they do, then we're causing a bunch of like 2s or something like that, which are barely, you won't feel a 2 probably. But if we have enough 2s, maybe there's going to be a 5 down the way, and you might feel a 4, you might feel a 5.
Hmm.
And anything above that can cause some damage. And initially they're like, oh yeah, people were saying like, we might be helping, like we're relieving the stress in the rock. Causing these like small earthquakes around, so it's probably helping mitigate these huge shifts in rock. But then this same company, so I'm putting a lot of my trust into these guys because they do it for a living. They monitor these cracks, these little pops, and they're like, no, it follows the Richter scale. Like you should experience, like for every 5, you experience this many 4s, this many 3s, or whatever. Which I also think is surprising. Yeah, so they were.
Hold on. When you say it follows a Richter scale, like, are you meaning that if you start feeling 2s, then it's likely that you're going to start feeling 4s soon? And then, is that what you mean by that, or
No, it's more of like there's a bunch of like there's like 1s happening all the time. You just can't feel them.
Yeah.
And then for X many number of 2s, or for X many number of 1s, you should have this many 2s, you should have this many 3s, this many 4s. But if you cause a bunch of 2s, historically you should see, a 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
So you're creating more. So you should see more of all.
Okay.
Rather than just 2s.
That's what I thought you meant, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I'm supposed to study this stuff.
So there's a distribution, which is just kind of like a single-tailed distribution, and it's like if you increase the number of 2s, that other tail is going to go up. Maybe also that's the idea. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's not cool. That's actually it's not cool at all, but it's fascinating.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, I was never very skilled in the natural sciences, so what you assume I learned in high school about earthquakes, I don't remember anything. Yeah, I think in 7th grade, we had a module of whatever generic 7th grade science topics you cover that was on that, and I don't know. Metamorphic rock, igneous rock, that's as much as I got.
I was just like, man, so I did a master's in geophysics, and one of the questions my professor asked me during my defense was like, hey, do you trust this reading? That this reading, it's a little geophone, it's about like this big, that's picking up a noise 2 miles deep. I said, no, that sounds crazy. Like, yeah, this is like little thing that like is measuring a reaction 2 miles deep. But apparently it does, just because you have a bunch of them. They're all measuring the same thing, and you can,
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's repetitive, and you have the same signal. So it apparently makes sense.
What did he say when you said that? Did he correct you in the moment?
I forget what happened. I don't think I explained it very well because he looked at me kind of odd.
Oh,
but you got 3.
I passed though, so it's fine.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Well, next. Sorry, this is a terrible segue so far. Next, we're gonna do a cultural recommendation, and I'm gonna do it this time. Last week, Josh introduced us to the Amazon original by Andrew Rowe, How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps, and I'm disappointed to announce that I didn't read it like Josh asked me to, but I'll read it sometime soon, and we can talk about it. Josh actually listened to it again, which is crazy.
I did.
It makes me feel even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's like you read it so exactly. Yeah, you read it so we could have a quality discussion, and I failed. So I want to publicly apologize, Josh.
Well, thank you. I'll read it again. I'll listen to it again this week. So
we're 3rd time. Good. Now I really feel a lot of pressure because that's a lot of your life that it's taken up.
I don't have Audible, so I don't have to do it.
Oh yeah, me neither. I'm just kidding. I bought it on the podcast last time. I thought a lot about what to talk about because there's a lot of things in culture that I'm passionate about, but I saw this movie that I think was very overlooked when it came out, and I'll be honest, I didn't prep for this cultural recommendation, so I might throw out some facts that are incorrect, or I won't do that, but I'll be vague to the point where you might want more details. But it's a movie from 2012. It's set in space, and it's called Moon. Have either of you or any of the listeners seen the movie Moon?
I have not, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I saw the commercial.
Moon. I remember seeing it too, and I don't want to say a lot about the plot. In fact, I want to say less about the plot than like a trailer would. But I want to highlight a couple of things, and I think why it's worth watching, because it's not available on any streaming platforms. But for whatever it costs to rent a movie on your rental platform of choice, be it Apple or Amazon or whatever, it's worth the $3 or $4 to watch it. It's called Moon. And here's the first thing I think is fascinating about it that I didn't know until after I watched it that I loved in hindsight. It was written and directed by the son of David Bowie. So acclaimed British rock singer David Bowie. This kid named it birth or called it birth. Zoe Bowie is now a movie director. And he doesn't go by that anymore. He goes by Duncan something, or yeah, I should have looked that up, but this movie is not Bowie-esque at all. It doesn't have any kind of like the whimsical, fantastical costumes and imagery. Like, it's a really interesting movie. And the premise is this, and this doesn't do it justice. So the reason I'm recommending it is that I want you to take this small description, because I don't want to give away too much, and I want you to watch it. There's an engineer that's on the moon, and he works for a corporation, and he's there for 3 years. And his 3-year tour of work or contract is coming to a close. He's got 2 weeks left at the opening of the movie. And his job is basically to oversee this mining operation on the moon. And he's best friend and the only other sentient being at the beginning of the movie is this intelligent computer system voiced by Kevin Spacey. Now, what happens with the rest of the movie is kind of it's not like one of those like labyrinthian plots where you can't understand what's going on. You pick up pretty quickly what's going on, but the way it continues to unfold makes the plot consistently more interesting. He's got a wife and kids, so he's got a strong incentive to get home. But some really unexpected stuff happens. And it's not sci-fi stuff. It's like big corporation, maybe not valuing human life type stuff. So for that reason, I heavily recommend it. Acting's fantastic. But Moon, by the son of David Bowie, I recommend it.
I bet you love that. You're like, by the son of David Bowie.
Yeah, he would.
Gotta be tough.
Done. Yeah, I'm into it.
He doesn't even go by Bowie anymore. He goes by something or other. It's like, man.
If you're out there listening, I'm sorry. I didn't research it very much, but I loved the movie.
It reminds me of a ripoff of the Jetsons movie. Where
have you seen it?
I've seen the Jetsons movie.
Okay, what happens in the Who's seen the Jetsons movie?
It's on like Netflix or something. We were like wondering what to watch. We're like, we've watched everything since we're all quarantined. The Jetsons movies is up. I watched the Jetsons when I was little. It'd be interesting to see. It's rated G. I rarely see any movies rated G anymore.
Wow.
But it's about George Jetson and his boss. Did you guys watch the Jetsons when you were little?
Yeah, like the short guy with the black
short guy. He's a little like angry all the time. He's like, I keep sending this vice president to this comet to mine space stuff. But this vice president always fails. I'm going to send Jetson. And then Jetson goes to the moon. But I won't spoil it. But it's about, not tearing down the habitats of other
interesting
organisms to mine your own crap.
Okay.
That's interesting. So it's got kind of like an eco-political element to it.
Yeah.
Moon is very much about I think it's about. I think on some level, it's kind of a capitalist critique.
Mm.
It's
Sounds
about.
good.
It's about the calls into question the play of the tension between like a large futuristic corporation and the value of an individual human life. And not only that, it's like very endearing. The acting's good, the plot's great. There's some crazy stuff that happens. Yeah, Josh, I feel like you made this cultural recommendation better by bringing up the Jetsons movie. I don't want to commit to watching it.
Don't. It's kind of boring, actually.
Actually, I have a question. It's just something I'm starting to think about. So the Jetsons, right? Where do they live? Like, are they on Earth? Like, are they just like really high in the atmosphere on Earth, or are they somewhere else? I don't think I've ever really thought about that. But where are they?
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Huh.
Where's the ground? I don't think I've ever seen the ground
Yeah, I don't think so I have either.
in the Jetsons.
Yeah, they kind of live up. It's like in Star Wars, that Cloud City
Cloud
that
City.
I can't remember the name of.
Lando City.
Lando City. What's
It
that called? Start with the
I
C.
think it might be called Cloud City or something.
Is it called Cloud City?
I'm not sure. I could Google it, but
I got a little lazy for that one. I'm gonna lay two stakes in the ground and say it starts with a C or an N. I'm not trying to remember before Wayne can Google it. This is Man versus Machine. This is good. It's like the movie Moon.
Okay.
This is good
Cloud
content.
City. Okay, it's saying Cloud City.
Wow.
Cloud City.
It starts with a
Yeah.
C.
So you had it, man. You just needed some confidence. That's all.
Yeah.
You're confident she would have been good.
But
You're right.
to your point about corporations colonizing the moon, like, you think it's outlandish, but two of my people I have a lot of respect for in terms of what they can get done, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, both are obsessed with going to not the moon, but past the moon. And I'm like,
Right.
out of all your things that you make and you've talked about, I'm like, oh yeah, I think you're a really smart dude, whatever, except for this one piece of both your thoughts that are consistent between the two of you. So maybe I should start thinking about going past the Earth and something else.
Wow.
Mm.
Does the idea of a moon, or in the case of Musk and Bezos, a Mars mission, knowing that it would be kind of brutal, but still, on the cutting edge of human experience, does it have any appeal to you? Would you go to the moon, go to Mars on like a 10-year or a 5-year contract or something?
You're not coming back from Mars.
Yeah.
You're just not. Like, people will at some point, but the first people that go, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Would you go, Wayne? Would you do it?
I wouldn't go.
No.
There's too much stuff here that I would miss. Why would I go? Unless it was a situation where me going was going to just completely change the circumstances of my entire family for generations or something like that, then I'd probably be like, okay.
That begs the question of what's the price? So how long does it take to get to Mars? 3 years? Like a little over 3 years?
Probably.
I don't know. Josh is on it again. Josh is Google master. So it might be something like 3 years. It might be a little over 3 years. Wayne, what's the number that would get you there? So that. So okay. So let me lay out a little bit more of the scenario. You have a wife. You have 3 kids. 3 kids. And you're going to go to Mars, and it takes how long, Josh? With
7 to 9 months.
7 to 9 months?
Yeah, it's fast.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was 3 years.
Well, the question when I Googled it
depends on when you.
First thing, yeah.
all
First
that.
thing I thought
Yeah.
was, does it take 4 years to get to Mars? So that's something going around.
Yeah.
In that vein. Well, they say it's
'Cause I know you-
17 months.
I know you have to like wait for the rotation of the Earth to be right so that you can use its orbit to launch you off. Okay, so Wayne, let's say 5-year contract. Like you already said, there's a good chance you wouldn't come back just because it's risky. What's the dollar figure for this contract? Like you said, to really set your wife and your kids up, knowing that, let's say there's a 50% chance you won't come back. What's the dollar amount? And Josh, be thinking of your dollar amount.
I would probably look at baseball players. Like, what's the average all-star baseball players? I'd probably do it for that much, maybe. Because those guys get signed, $300 million contracts.
Oh, that's a big number.
So, I don't know. I'd be like, come on, guys. If I'm going to be over there setting up a colony and crap and won't come back. Because the thing, you have to think about it like this. We're not going to have the technology for the first people there or the materials to do 2 launches.
Okay.
So when you land on Mars, you're on Mars. You're not going to be able to leave.
Okay.
So there isn't really going to be it's not going to be a situation where you can just go there for a couple years and then come back. That's not going to happen for a long time. A lot of people are going to have to go to Mars and bring things, and then maybe at some point we'll be able to build whatever we need to send some stuff back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I see what you're saying.
the
Okay,
first
so you say 300 million
something like that.
because the first people won't get to come back. So it's not even like 5 years there
Yeah.
and back. It's like,
And it's not even, I wouldn't even get to spend it.
no, it would just be for your family, your wife and your
Yeah.
3 kids, and your siblings and your parents.
Yeah. So
Josh, what's your number?
Well, my initial thought was my intuition said 100 million, but I thought that was too much. So I was like, 50 million? That sounds like might not be enough. So somewhere between 50 and 100. So let's say 50.
Okay. Cool. I was thinking like 15 million, so now I feel like an idiot.
yeah.
Be fun. Be an adventure. Be probably miserable, but
yeah, not super fun. Kind of interesting. If you really like, actually, it's my hot take. If you like travel, want to experience new things, maybe that's it. I have recently gone against that. I used to be like, I always want to travel, experience new things. Kind of don't anymore. I like what I do
interesting.
in my life. Like my day-to-day is nice. And
I think
Oh, that's good.
I think that it wouldn't be as exciting as traveling around Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I picture it is you're gonna be basically, it's like the world's, not even the world's, it'll be the longest road trip in history. Basically, you're stuck in a spaceship for however long. And then once you land there, you're basically building stuff up and you're not going to be able to explore Mars really. You're going to have to stay close to whatever you set up so that you can survive. So you're probably just going to be watching Netflix and reading books and working the entire rest of your life.
And there's no breweries or barbecue places along the way for you to stop at.
Yeah. So
Like,
Yeah.
why it's fun?
it sounds not fun. Like, I wouldn't look forward to it. That's why I would have a high price, because I wouldn't want to go.
Yeah. Well, Josh, maybe that's why you would like it. I mean, you would be without your wife. You'd be without a lot of things, but if you feel like you've no longer got the itch to travel, I bet most of Mars looks the same.
If you can take your family, have like bring multiple people on. I'm sure you need more than one person.
That's right. And to be honest, I don't want to be crude, but probably, I mean, I don't know if they'd want people to reproduce. If it's only 7 to 9 months, I don't think you need to maybe plan for like the Noah's Ark type reproduction scheme, but that could be valuable, reproduce. Although having a baby that's born there and grew up there.
The baby would be weird.
Whoa.
Actually,
My baby's gonna be fine, Wayne.
I think there's a movie about that. I never saw it, but I saw the commercials and stuff
Moon?
about a kid that was born on, I think, Mars or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so he grew up on Mars, and Mars has what 60% the gravity or something like that. I don't know anymore. And so he was like really weak and sickly, and he went back to Earth and fell in love with some girl. But then I think he died or something. I don't know. But there's a movie about that.
Huh.
Or he had
Remember
to go
how he
back
died?
to Mars, or he would have died. I think was the thing. So they were all like, "Oh, I don't want to go to Mars, but he can't stay there." So it was a whole thing. But
I
actually,
can see how. No, go ahead.
speaking of Mars, so I've been kind of on that whole what is it called? Clubhouse. I've been on Clubhouse a bit lately, and one cool thing that I got to do is, you know how they had a rover that landed.
I don't
Mhm.
because you didn't give me the invitation to go.
I did send you an invitation.
Okay, never mind. My bad.
I do think I heard that it's only for Apple products right now, though, so you might not even be able to use it. So
Yeah.
I probably just wasted one of my invitations on you.
Damn, I was limited.
That's what I heard.
Damn.
But anyway,
Okay.
what was really cool was there was a room where they had a bunch of scientists and engineers that worked on that whole mission for the rover and the landing and all of that. They were in a room. You could look at a link and watch the landing, and they were just talking and taking questions and stuff. It was pretty cool, just interesting because they were kind of like walking through. All right, this part of the descent is really important because this is going to have to detach, and this is going to have to do this at this exact moment, and explaining how everything worked. And so you were actually like having the scientists that figured all this out explain what's happening instead of just seeing it. So it was actually pretty cool, and people got to ask questions and stuff like that. Clubhouse is pretty dope.
Dang.
I need to give it another chance because I spent a little bit of time on it after you graciously sent me an invitation for $50 US, which again, thank you. I'm just kidding. It was free. Wayne's a good friend. I didn't give it enough time. I dropped in a couple conversations. I pretty quickly it reads your contacts and connects you to people that you might know.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden all the notifications I was getting were this sales coach that used to be associated with this company that I worked for, doing all these like B2B marketing sales tip sessions, and it put a sour taste in my mouth. But I'll go back and check again. The only real valid critique that I have of Clubhouse is that their logo is awful.
It's just a guy.
Yeah, it's just a dude's profile. Like, I'm just like, what?
I was wondering, who is that guy?
So, yeah, I don't want to look at him. If I see him in a notification, this dude that I've got no attachment to, I'm like, what? It's just a guy's profile?
What is it?
What's so
Tom?
deep?
I think it's Tom.
From MySpace.
He's the modern day Tom.
Man, poor Tom. I joke about I don't know what happened to him. I really don't know what happened to Tom.
I'm sure he's doing okay. I heard it. Wasn't he one of the owners or something, or one of the founders?
I assume he was a founder. I don't know.
Sold it. I mean, they sold it, so he probably made a decent amount of money, I would assume.
Yeah, depending on when he sold.
Yeah.
Remember Justin Timberlake, I think, bought a decent chunk. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago, tried to revitalize it, and it just fell flat on its face.
Yeah.
I think I remember that because around that time, I decided to try to log back into mine, and I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's lost. I can't.
$60 million. Tom's worth $60 million. By the way,
Britney Spears is worth now, so take that for what it's worth.
Man, Justin Timberlake was a douche to Britney Spears.
Yeah.
By the way.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the narrative that I got. Like, I haven't seen the movie or whatever.
He had a whole response on Instagram to, well, I mean, it was written. after that documentary came out.
So what did he do?
Just stories about him, just kind of being like, on talk shows, being like, yeah, you should look it up. I didn't look into
Because he did make a big deal out of the fact that she cheated on him or something. Is the way that I remember it playing out.
That was a big piece of it.
Did she?
I don't think it's confirmed.
Yeah.
But he's now. I think he's kind of had a turn of opinion because I think he was beloved for a while. But like Josh's talking about, and what you're talking about too is, yeah, he basically I think his music video for Cry Me a River showed Britney Spears cheating on him.
Yeah.
He talked on a radio show about how they slept together while Britney Spears was claiming to be a virgin, and so I think that kind of general behavior, and then I think if you take that and you pair it with the whole Janet Jackson Super Bowl incident, which we've talked about here on the podcast before, where he essentially is the same type of behavior again, to where Janet Jackson ended up looking like the perpetrator of some kind of cultural crime.
Yeah, that was
but he's married to Jessica Alba, so it's like
no, it's Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel.
Oh, that's right.
Good save. Oh, okay.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. She was on that show. Did you all ever watch the show Seventh Heaven, where Jessica Biel got her start? I liked that show.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like a super white version of My Family, except there's like a kid.
Yeah,
oh, that's right.
They had the same. They had the same like ages, except I'd have been the blind kid, and they were like the
Simon.
same sexes too. Like it was the same order, and they were the same. But if Simon was the youngest,
yeah.
And the mom reminded me of a white version of my mom, like Hartford. She really did. But
wow,
yeah,
that's the cultural recommendation we should have done, is to watch the show Seventh Heaven. Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven. Yeah.
I don't remember the words. I immediately thought of Seventh Heaven, walking down the street, Seventh Heaven. That's not it.
Something like to me.
But, hey, so, Trevor, I'll have to invite you to some interesting clubhouse like rooms or whatever. I was listening to some people talk about crypto and blockchain. They explained like crypto way better than I've ever had it explained to me before, to where a lot more of it makes sense. But so it's
love
cool
that.
just having people that know what they're talking about explain things to you, and just have discussions that are interesting.
Yeah, I'll give it another chance. You're right.
Yeah, I would recommend
but yeah,
searching for what you want to listen to or what you're interested in hearing about. Find rooms about that stuff, and then go into those rooms, and hopefully they're good.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll report back, because I'm not 100% sold on the concept yet, but I think I haven't given it a fair shake. I listened to like parts of 2 conversations. Then the logo just kind of made me angry.
Yeah, I was sold by the NASA stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, that was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we speak about NASA. They went to Mars. On Mars, there is no water. And in fact, for the main course tonight, we're doing a potluck. And the theme of our potluck is water. So we're all going to come with some stuff about water. I can talk about some stuff first. Josh or Wayne, if you have some stuff you want to talk about with water, we can do that too. It's up to you guys.
We could do that. I must warn you, the only thing coming to mind is kind of political.
Well, I'll go first, and
always is.
It matches yours, Wayne, because mine's kind of political too. Mine is, so down here in Texas, we had the power go out, right? And Ted Cruz went to Cancun, all that. We also lost a lot of people lost water, which is, I mean, power go out, you can handle that, but if you lose water, you kind of have a time limit on when you need to get more water, or you die. I actually don't know if any people died with these power outages, but I hope not.
Oh, people died.
Yeah, damn,
Wow.
that sucks.
R.I.P.
Yeah. But I got to thinking about it, and so on my LinkedIn, I'm connected to a lot of people who are working in the oil and gas field, and you hear a lot of oh man, look at those wind turbines, they failed, and then you have a lot of other people on my LinkedIn being really it's not the wind turbines who failed, a lot of these gas plants or the gas plants failed, so it's oil and gas, a lot of pointing fingers. What I've heard is that it's a lot of failures were within the infrastructure of the electrical grid. So I thought about that, and people are talking about the oil and gas piece or the wind piece, but I really think problems like that will be solved if you fix things like electrical infrastructure. And I got to think, should the federal government start enacting things back in the day they had the WCA who hired people to build roads and stuff. But will and should the federal government fund these projects that build up things like infrastructure? Because I guess towards the should part, they should do it. Will they do it? I don't think they'll do it because, as you can see, the two sides of my LinkedIn feed, my social media, were on two different problems that neither solved the issue of power. So even if you fixed it, you wouldn't get credit for it. So I just thought I'd bring that up, and your thoughts on how you get some politicians to actually look at these problems in depth and solve the meat of the issue versus what was being talked about at the time.
Yeah.
Was your issue related, Wayne?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't. But I actually have a few thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research and read quite a bit on what the problems were. Why was Texas so hard hit, whereas Oklahoma wasn't? Basically, nowhere else was, right? And from what I can tell, the answer is they really deregulated the power grid in Texas in comparison to everywhere else. And basically, they're just trying to make it as cheap as possible for them to produce electricity, whichever way, in any way. Basically, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. So I heard that there was a lot of reports that were presented saying, hey, if things get too cold, we could have catastrophic failures, and it'll cost like $20 million or something to winterize our grid. But the companies didn't want to spend the money on it because they wanted to keep the money. They wanted to, keep it, give it to the shareholders, make it profit, whatever. And so that was a big reason why everything went so poorly in Texas. And so I think that really it needs to be regulated more than what it is, because anytime you ask someone, hey, or tell someone, hey, we need you guys to spend $20 million on this because there's a chance that something might happen, they're probably not going to do it if they don't have to. Let's just be honest. Yeah. So to me, that just means that they need more regulation. They need to make sure that those companies invest in, winterizing their grid. That's my take on it. It's all because it's all deregulated too far.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah, you're right. Texas is kind of crazy like that. I know. Yeah, it is crazy because you can literally, in Oklahoma, you have government sanctioned monopolies that provide electrical power. Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma is a part of a regional consortium of energy to where if if our supply dips, we're a part of a pooled market through which we can purchase energy, and we're okay. That's why we didn't lose power, except for me, right now.
Right. After this
But
What are you running on a generator?
yeah, actually, I hooked my bike up. I've been pedaling this whole time, which is why I'm looking a little sweaty. But I think back to like 99 when Enron convinced California to deregulate their energy industry. And California experienced rolling blackouts because inevitably something disrupts the market that you hadn't really accounted for. And the worst case gets really bad. The worst case is beyond even just higher prices during a crisis. The worst part is there is not supply sufficient to meet demand at any price. So it's kind of like, I think we're all proponents of free markets, but I think there's certain things that the government has a place in regulating. And so I'm really curious to see if this changes at all kind of the political thought in Texas. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So
Not fun. Not fun.
All
Wayne,
right.
what do you bring into potluck? What do you think?
It's actually funny. I recently listened to a podcast where Aaron Brockovich was interviewed.
Whoa.
The real one. Not
Julia Roberts. Like
Julia Roberts.
But the real one.
I
And
did not know she was
talking. What?
I didn't know she was a real person.
Oh yeah, that was basically a true story.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was interesting because she was talking about they talked about Flint, Michigan, and how crazy it is that we haven't fixed that whole issue, which just blows my mind. I mean, we have the Democrats supposed to care about that stuff, and they haven't. They're just hoping that we all forget about it. Honestly, is the way I feel about it. When they should be trying to fix the problem, because it wasn't their fault that the governor decided to reroute them to, what was it, like a lake or something that is known to be really, really dirty. It has like runoff from all those factories that were building cars and different things for decades, and they decided to make people drink it. Like, not even, it's crazy, just to save a little bit of money. So, I mean, I guess that's what I would want to bring attention to when it comes to water. Is Aaron Brockovich said that it's you'd be surprised how bad the water is in most of the country because of how much we've deregulated it. And when people get caught, dumping toxic materials into the water, generally speaking, they might get a fine, but that fine is usually way less than the money that they make by doing what they're doing. So they just look at it as price doing business. So I think that we definitely need more regulation on basic things like water and energy. Like that's my opinion, and that's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's just really disheartening when you see stuff like that become such a news story. And as a news story, it's got all the theatrics and drama that any newscaster would hope for in a news story, and then nothing happens. Like that's so frustrating.
Yeah. When did that even start? The Flint, Michigan stuff? It started in, I want to say it was at the latest 2015. It might have been 2014.
Yeah, I was thinking around there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was during Obama administration.
Well,
No, you go ahead.
My thoughts are, I used to be fairly like libertarian, like free market will get us the best result, sort of thinking. But the past like couple of years, I just think that's not, if you value things like someone's life, or if you have these values in place like that, you can't you have to regulate things like water and energy because, sure, if you deregulate, let's say, I'll talk about energy just because that's what I'm more familiar with, but I'm sure it applies to water. But they probably, Flint had this, someone made a decision to use that lake, which was cheaper, and this one out of I don't know how many um, water or water companies goes maybe not even they don't even get punished that hard for it, but one out of say 30 or whatever, you're willing to take that chance if you're a company and say, we're not going to, or a state, no, we're not going to regulate this. It'll cause our costs to go up. And what happened with the mixing was sad, but it's not going to happen to us. And often it doesn't, but you have to protect those people who it does happen to, and that's why you have to put in those regulations to protect everyone, because that's what we believe.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that if cost efficiency is all you care about in the long run, and I'm talking like on average over a very huge time horizon, yeah, you're always going to get that. But I think if I agree with you, what you're saying, Josh, in that if you are risk averse along certain dimensions like human life or human suffering, then adding regulation that adds some, essentially like bumpers between which the free market can do its thing, that's good, because otherwise the worst case scenario can be really, really bad. And it's like, yeah, the best, and really the best case scenario is not even like that huge. It's like, yeah, over a long time horizon on average, you're gonna have lower prices. But when you have these crises that pop up, stuff can get really bad. So I completely agree with you. So that's why I've just always kind of been, I think that markets in general need some guidelines, some boundaries, some rules of the game. Because there's a lot of other examples you could come up with to where left completely devoid of any regulation, the free market can go a little haywire. So a little bit of, some level of guide rails by some government entity is a good thing when you value stuff like human life. That's why I'm a supporter of things like, I'm a big supporter of the EPA. I'm a big supporter of the FDA.
I like
there's just certain stuff. Yeah. It's not perfect, but.
Yeah. And what's crazy is if you travel, like go to Europe, the food that we get served here, isn't even legal in Europe. It's crazy the difference. Like you can taste the difference a lot of the time. You go to McDonald's in Europe, and it doesn't even look the same.
Yeah. You're telling me that I couldn't get a Wendy's Baconator in Europe, and I couldn't get Wendy's Baconator in Romania? They wouldn't allow it. Well,
no,
maybe
you would be able to get one. Maybe not Romania. I don't think I saw a McDonald's when I was there.
Yeah.
But Germany, you could get all of that stuff, but it was just better quality and probably didn't have as many chemicals in it.
Yeah, probably.
Like my favorite soda by far is orange Fanta from basically anywhere but America. It's a huge difference.
Wow.
I wish I had a picture to show you. Like, they're not even the same color.
Wow.
It's crazy. The difference in taste is ridiculous. I sometimes I have dreams about just drinking Fanta in Europe because I miss it.
Josh, are you changing your mind about traveling now?
Well, so I guess I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I'll bring it up. I went to the Coca-Cola factory in Atlanta, and I tried all the sodas from other countries. Man, they suck. Like,
really?
They do not taste nearly as good as Coke from America. Yeah, it must be all like the sugar and like what's the really refined sugar stuff?
The high fructose corn syrup.
Must be the high fructose corn syrup, because some of it was like not sweet. And I was like, what is going on?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not better everywhere, but
yeah.
Did you try the German or European Fanta?
I did not.
Or Mezzo Mix, man.
Yeah.
It's taking me back.
Yeah, I need to try it. Not to say that I don't always dislike not sweet things. It's like a triple negative. But I think when you compare, if you have like a bitter drink versus a Coke next to you, that Coke's gonna make the bitter drink way more bitter. That good stuff.
Josh, I have to ask, did you end up trying a Wendy's Baconator?
I
Did you end up trying one?
I did. So what I ordered was a Wendy's Baconator plus the Baconator fries, and I appreciated both. Yeah, Baconator fries has like queso plus cheese plus bacon, and it was great. The Baconator is like cheese, beef, mayo, ketchup, and bacon. It's for like brilliant.
Bacon twice.
Yeah, I also recommend the Baconator.
I forgot. And I'm also, I gotta be honest, I'm not that big of a bacon person.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Which a lot of people think I'm crazy for it, but bacon's cool, but I don't get why people go so crazy for it.
Yeah.
So normally when I eat a sandwich with bacon on it, I didn't do this for Baconator because I wanted to respect, the experience of eating the sandwich. Normally I open the sandwich, eat the bacon, and then I'll eat the rest of the sandwich. I eat it separately.
Wow. That's fascinating. Okay, let me hit you with the stuff that I had kind of come up with. I came up with two things, and we can move through them quickly because. Have you all heard the Bruce Lee quote, "Be like water"?
Yes. It's
You've heard
actually
that.
a film on ESPN.
Oh, is it about him or something? Yeah. Okay. So I was going to read the full quote for you all real quickly, cool. And then I had a few kind of, I wanted you all's thoughts on it. So Bruce Lee allegedly said, "Be like water, making its way through cracks. Do not be assertive, but adjust to the object, and you shall find a way around or through it. If nothing within you stays rigid, outward things will disclose themselves. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, and it becomes the bottle. You put it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." And so my first question for you all is, what does that even mean?
First one, or
no, you can go first. I'm still thinking on it.
So, because I just watched the documentary, unfortunately, because it's kind of influencing my answer. Bruce Lee got famous. So he died at 32, by the way. 34, 32, super young. But during his lifetime, it was right during a lot of the civil rights era, and what he did was basically go with the flow. Like, he'd allow a lot of these very racist Asian events to happen, but his attitude was his attitude towards the end was, I'm here, I'm representing Asia, and that's better than whatever the alternative was. Before that, before he got famous, he wasn't famous always. In the beginning, he wasn't very well known, and he actually started not. He wouldn't take any roles that would degrade Asia, essentially. But because he's from Hong Kong, which is where my family is from as well.
Cool.
Yeah, but he towards the end he would either have you change the script to make it less degrading to Asians, but or not take the role. But that makes a lot of sense because towards the end he would allow these things around him. He wouldn't speak out directly, but when he would act, he would do things like, I'm not going to do this thing that's degrading to Asian people. But he wouldn't speak out. Yeah, it's kind of hard to interpret, but he wouldn't directly speak out and say, like, this is wrong, don't do this sort of thing. But he would do it in his art form, which was acting.
Okay, so basically by being an example and exposing people that were degrading the Asian community to a strong, positive, talented, smart Asian man,
Hmm.
and maybe even befriending him. I'm guessing. I haven't seen him.
Yeah, befriending him. He
And
was
then trying to
welcome to
change
Black
their
community.
minds, like not by arguing with them, but by forging a friendship. That kind of reminds me of there's a guy who made it his mission to befriend a bunch of KKK members, but he's a black guy.
Oh,
And so he would just befriend people that were really racist. And I guess he was so charismatic that at a certain point they would give him their robes and
wow.
leave the Klan. And he has like a closet full of Klan robes. But it wasn't by preaching to them. It wasn't by telling them they were wrong. It was by being their friend and just convincing them through his action and through who he was that they were wrong without even arguing. So maybe that's kind of that seems like it's kind of the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can see that. Do you all take that to be true as a good strategy for how you operate in your daily life? I mean, specifically saying, don't be assertive, but adjust to the object. Do you all do that?
I don't, and I think I'd be better off if I did.
Hmm.
I can think of plenty of moments in my life where if I would have just been a little bit cooler, not said something or whatever, my life would probably be a lot better right now. But and I wasn't wrong in the things that I said or did, but I wasn't in a position of power where I could say that and it not have a negative effect on my life.
I see.
So I think if I had been like water, let certain things slide and try to show through I guess being a good example of whatever, I don't know, by acting certain, it's a hard thing to do, at least constantly, because holding your tongue on certain things can be very difficult. But I think there's times where I look back and I was like, I shouldn't have said that. So I
Yeah.
think that's something that I strive towards, uh, being more adaptable, being able to adapt to situations, something that I'm working on. Like I'm looking at some things right now that I probably should do, and I know that it's my pride that's keeping me from doing those things.
Mm,
And if I was more like water, I'd probably just go ahead and do what's best for me.
interesting. Josh, do you see it have much value in your life?
Um,
Strategy?
I think being more assertive is probably would help me more, mainly because I think naturally I'm more like water, which I think is also a very Asian concept because
Yes.
yeah, because I grew up in dominantly Asian household. I mean, I was born in Hawaii, but my family was Chinese. It was a lot of Chinese influenced. Um, and you got a lot of the maybe not as strong as other more Asian households, but it's like ground into you. It's like you don't speak up to authority. You don't speak up to um, your elders or whoever um, in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And so, and that's I see why a lot of the Asian community might relate to Be Like Water because it's like you're not gonna speak up. We're gonna be a good example of what you should do. So I think for me, being more assertive might have helped me in certain situations because that's not what was natural to my upbringing.
Yeah. I agree with you. I thought that it seemed distinctly like an Asian philosophy as well. From the one Asian philosophy course I took in undergrad, a lot of those early thinkers, like what's his name, Lao Tzu or Confucius, it was very much like you adapt like to your parents. You are the perfect child, and that's the image of yourself that you put forward. To your friends, you're the perfect friend, and that's so. It's very much about. It's all about adapting. I'm painting broad strokes here, but it's very much about adapting to what's in front of you. And I, like you, Josh, this makes sense because Wayne, I think you're definitely more like kind of self-actualized in that way. I'm kind of more of a people pleaser, right? And that's kind of a very water-like ability. I'm a peacekeeper and a people pleaser, and I can get along with anybody, and I can kind of take any perspective. And I think I'm less probably opinionated in general, just in terms of the intensity of opinions. So I think it's a good strategy in some instances, but I think it's probably one of those moderation type things. Now, the last thing I'll say about this, and I think we'll skip over my second topic. I want to contrast it to kind of like prevailing American thought, and in particular, American business strategy thought. So I want to compare it to this, a couple of ideas from this book called Good to Great by Jim Collins that I read, which is different because he's very much, in his kind of framework that he builds for how to be successful in business, it's about disciplined thought. The way you think has to be disciplined. So intellectual, unchanging, analytical rigor. The people executing it have to be disciplined and unmoving and assertive and not like water. They have to be like the iceberg that sunk the Titanic. And then disciplined action. And then another component that he highlights is what he calls the hedgehog concept, where a hedgehog has one move. It folds up into a ball and it's got spikes, and that's its move for any situation. And it doesn't adapt to the situation, try out new strategies, offensive or defensive. It's got one defensive strategy, and that's all it does. And he says that a company has to focus on, first of all, what it can be the best at realistically, and it has to stick to that. That has to line up with what actually drives economic performance, and then also what it's deeply passionate about. And it can't stray from those things. So I'm kind of curious about your all's thoughts on, so we talked about in the micro concept on how Wayne, who's maybe more like he knows himself, he knows his opinions, and he's going to stick to his guns. He feels like he needs to be more like water. I feel like I need to be less like water. Maybe Josh should say the same thing. But how do you all think about it? That's on a micro level. How do you all think about it on a macro level? Like, it seems kind of chaotic, maybe. Doesn't seem like a good business strategy necessarily. Does it even seem like a good political strategy? Or I don't know. Does it
like water?
Yeah,
I think so, because based on the quote, he said something along the lines of finding your way through or finding your way through it. Like, you'll find openings.
Yeah.
I think, especially in a world full of people that are not like water, I think being like water in a smart way, like don't necessarily sell yourself out, is a powerful thing, because you'll find ways to get somewhere that another person that is trying to use brute force won't. Because I know I personally, and this is because I'm not very water-like, if someone wants something and they come at me for it the wrong way, there's a chance that depending on how they do go about it, I might not even do it if it's a good deal for me. Just out of the principle of the thing. You know what I mean? So if someone was more like water and they spoke to me and tried to figure out the best way to get me to agree or to get where they want to go, I might not put up as much resistance as someone that's going to just try to brute force, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it because I say so or whatever. Like, that doesn't work as well when everyone's like that. You need people that are going to, adjust, adapt. I think that quote kind of made me think people that are like water are probably more observant, less worried about, like, someone who's not is going to be all about them. They're going to be thinking about what they want, the straight line, how to get there. And they're going to be willing to step on people, do whatever they need to do to get there, right? But someone who is more like water is going to look at their environment, look at the people involved in this scenario, and probably be able to find the cracks that they can go through and meet less resistance. That's what I take from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. So I'm almost hearing in that, like, if you're like water, or it's advantageous to be like water when you're around a bunch of rocks.
Yes.
But a bunch of water coming up against a bunch of other water, the metaphor kind of falls apart. But I think context matters.
There's a lot more rocks than water, especially in our society.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I have to wonder too. I think so. Maybe it's just something that is only true for people, individual people, in specific contexts. Because I think when I think about, okay, how does this translate into business strategy? Well, okay, if you think about a company who is going to chase a lot of trends that are not that are legitimate trends, but might just be fads that aren't very well aligned with what they're good at, what they're passionate about, what drives performance in their firm. We've seen companies like that kind of struggle and fall apart. So it seems like it's not one of these like universal truths, but in specific contexts, it has meaning. Josh, what do you think?
I think companies probably have to be more assertive. But if you're in a company, the farther you are away from being in line with what the farther away you are have to being in line with what the company represents and says, then the more like water probably benefits you. I was thinking about if you're at a startup, you want to do one thing to start. Like you do this thing, tell everyone you do this thing, and hopefully someone gives you more funding to do that thing. And if you're like CEO of like a Fortune 100 company, you tell people one thing, that's what you're going to do. And if you are like chasing a bunch of things, you probably aren't going to do as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking also in the Fortune 100 company, if you're starting at the bottom and you're trying to, climb whatever ladder you're climbing, to get to the position to be representative of the company, you probably being like water is probably a lot more advantageous because you're kind of going from place to place. You want to be not friendly, but respected by the people you work with. So yeah, I guess I'd say as long the more your role is in line with what the company does, you probably have to be more assertive. But if you're not, then probably water is better.
There's one thing I kind of want to push back on or challenge just a little bit.
Yeah.
So when I think of water, or when I think of Bruce Lee being like water, I don't think of that as chasing fads or anything like that. I think that someone who's more like a rock and someone who's like water, if they both have a goal, they each have a goal, right? The rock, for me, the rock is going to try straight line, do what they need to do to get there by almost like bullying or pushing people in ways that they might not want to go, which can work depending on how powerful you are. But especially when you're a like startup or small company, I think being like water would be more powerful. Because if you're in a small company that doesn't have a lot of money or a lot of power, you're going to have, even though you have that goal, you're trying to get from point A to point B, the rock's going to try to go straight there. Water is going to try to go there, and then there's obstacles. They're going to adapt their strategy. They're still trying to get to the same place, but they're going to go around things and find different ways to further their cause. So I don't think that it's really about going in different directions or anything like that. You still have the same single goal. You're just more adaptive in how you get there. That's the way that I took it.
You've convinced me. I think you're right. Because you're gonna you as a company, you probably have a problem trying to solve, and you're gonna pivot depending on what you think solves that problem. So your answer may not be the same once you get to the end. So
It's
Yeah.
like try
I
something,
agree.
fail, adapt, try something else.
Right.
Keep adapting until you get where you're trying to go. So if I would want someone who's more like water, being
Yeah.
the CEO of my company personally.
Yeah.
At least the way I read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I know that's what's tough about it is like we just have a couple of sentences from Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And he died.
Younger
sad.
30s. Yeah. I didn't know he was that young. Very sad.
You guys got me wanting to watch some Bruce Lee movies, man.
Yeah.
How did he die? Do you remember?
I
So
remember how his son died, but I don't remember how he died.
So I'll tell you how he died, and I'll tell you my grandma's take. He took a painkiller and had a bad reaction to it. Is how he died. My grandma says he was teaching too many people the secret kung fu arts and was poisoned.
Wow.
Oh.
That's a good.
That would make more sense. I don't feel
Yeah.
like. What kind of painkiller was he taking that he would have a bad reaction and die?
It required a prescription, or it wasn't like off the. You can't go into a store and buy it. It was like you had to have something prescribed to you.
Seems like in that line of work, you'd be prone to physical injury, so you're gonna probably run into a painkiller eventually. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the quote means, but I think it's interesting. Overall, I like water, and I think our potluck was pretty delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious. So this brings us to our final segment of the night, which is yay or nay. And I've got nothing. Josh, do you want to toss out a yay or nay for the group?
Highest grossing movie in Japan is Demon Slayer. Anime. Yay or nay?
Wayne, you go first. Anime.
I'm gonna say
what do you
yay.
think? You're yay on anime?
I would have said like, yeah. I'm gonna say yay. Do you have the answer?
No, I mean I'm a yay. I watched the whole series this past week just because I was like, holy crap! Like, I don't understand how this movie, any anime, became the highest grossing film in. I guess like Japan
anime is really good actually.
But
a lot of them have really good stories.
Yeah,
that are like well thought out.
Yeah.
So Josh is yay on anime. Wayne's yay on anime. Josh, what was it that you watched? You watched Demon Slayer or you watched a different series?
No, I watched Demon Slayer, the series. I actually haven't watched the movie yet, but I'm planning to.
Do you have an answer, right?
Oh.
No, there wasn't a question. Demon Slayer was the highest grossing movie in Japan.
Yeah. It beat out Howl's Moving Castle, I think.
Wow, which is good.
Oh,
yeah. Do those count as anime though? They don't really. Though what's his name? Miyazaki. What's his name?
It's good stuff.
The Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki.
Yeah,
man, I'm
Demon
looking at it right now.
It's like
I guess my question is this: a lot of anime, it seems very story driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you do that with real people? That's my only qualm with anime. Is I love watching people do stuff. I love seeing the actors.
Good.
Yeah.
Why can't you just do it with real people? That's the only reason I'm going to dissent and say nay. Is kind of like my understanding. Unlike Howl's Moving Castle or Kiki's Delivery Service, which are so visually beautiful, but I don't think they count as anime.
They are.
They are?
Yeah, anime. Yeah, they are.
What's the definition of anime then?
I know it has something to do with being created in Japan, and it's animated. That might.
So anything from Japan's animated. I mean, is Toy Story anime?
No, because it's Japan. Like,
but
Avatar,
can't you make American anime?
Who?
You can't make anime in America. It's like Champagne. It has to be from the Champagne region.
Yeah, because Avatar is not anime because it wasn't made in Japan. There's a lot of basically anime that was made in Korea, but they can't call it anime because it wasn't.
What? So anything animated from Japan is anime.
I think. Don't quote me on that. But
I thought it had to be like this kind of like serialized, like graphic novel style animation. I thought there was some more parameters on it. I'm not going to say nay, but I think the only reason I do say nay, or I want to, is that I'm a fan of live action stuff, even if it's weird. But now, I mean, it all just comes down to the definition of anime. What is anime? We're left with nothing but questions. What is water? We answered the question, what's an earthquake? But
Wait, Trevor, are you yay or nay? Are you nay?
I don't know. I need the definition. I don't know.
I googled it and it says it's not clear. Actually,
Because I think of manga, which surely can't just be graphic novels from Japan. I mean, is that the definition of manga? Graphic novels from Japan? See, those are so broad. I'll go yay, just to be. No, I have to go nay. We can't all agree.
it says a style from Japan, which I guess you know it when you see it, sort of thing.
That's what I feel like. I feel like there's stylistic components to it.
Oh no.
Okay.
Like, is a Western? I don't know.
But my biggest, we should talk about this at some point. The point at which Game of Thrones started being bad, to what Trevor said, was when they started focusing on story versus characters.
Yeah.
And because the whole beginning was like this character-driven, very in-depth. You knew who these people were. Truthfully, I thought parts weren't that visually entertaining. It was nice because the costumes were all very well developed, but not a lot of action. But once it started towards like the last season, they had to push the story. Anyway, that argument was made to me, and I think I buy it.
That's a good point.
Real quick, just something funny I saw yesterday on YouTube. Have you guys ever seen Pitch Meeting?
Pitch Meeting?
Guy, yeah, it's this guy, and he does pitches about different movies and TV shows and stuff like that. He did one for the last season of Game of Thrones. Hilarious.
What's he on? Is he a TikTok? He's a YouTube guy?
Yeah, he's on YouTube. I think Screen Rant. Check him out. He's pretty funny because he does like the producer and he does the writer. But he points out all the dumb stuff that are in movies during the pitch.
That sounds amazing. I gotta find it for later.
Definitely check it out. Guy is hilarious. I've watched probably a solid 20 of his videos in the last week. They're all like maybe 5 minutes.
That's awesome. That's good. So everybody watch Pitch Meeting.
Yeah.
Wayne, you want to say goodbye to all of our audience?
Goodbye, everyone. Till next time.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
My bad.
Stay warm or cool. Whichever. Who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Well said.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.